What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We got some previews earlier today. Kind of want to go over what we heard and what we saw, and kind of starting actually with what we saw. So, one thing kind of to make clear, I guess, in the beginning, and I was happy actually that they said it, so I didn't have to do the research myself. So it turns out that the footage being provided was from Bethesda, right? Was not on their end. So if you go and you watch the IGN previews of the world, the GameSpots, etc. And I did watch several of them just to kind of hear what they were saying about it, right? Because some were a little bit more glowing than others, but they're all kind of the same gameplay, right? It's about 10, 12 minutes. And they were able to play, I think, upwards of 3 hours of the game, and they kind of jumped them around, right? You kind of get a little prologue situation going on. You kind of get more of the detective work stuff. You get a little action-y kind of stealth segment. So they kind of got to experience a variety of the mission structures of Indiana Jones, but the stuff that you're seeing, and even the stuff that I'm going to show, it's stuff provided by Bethesda, and it's the same footage no matter where you go. Now, with that being said, it looks really good. That's kind of, yes, I'm listening to what they're saying, and you're hearing their opinions on it. But from me, or from my perspective for this game, it was more about what was being shown. It was more about, okay, this game already has potential. To me, it looked pretty cool. I've got to, kind of get through the first person versus third person thing. But you know what? I actually think the preview did a good amount of that for me. Now, we'll see. We'll see when the base game comes out if I really jive. If they really manage to, make you feel like Indy, even though you can't see him, right? You're just kind of using the fists. But for the type of game that it's trying to be, I think it looks rather good. And I think I said raw on social media. It's tough to describe how the character animations, it looks like a different kind of game. When you're squaring up, when you're throwing the punches, it seems it almost feels a little off, but everything kind of does, and that makes it okay. It embraces that type of structure. But I don't know if that's a great way of explaining it, but you look at when Indy is pushing people, or when he's doing stealth takedowns, he'll hook the leg with a shovel and then smack him in the head, right? Or just the punches, right? The way he does the uppercuts, and a little bit more ragdoll I guess, of enemies. Honestly, the combat, just in visuals alone, I don't know how it feels, because obviously we didn't get to touch a controller, right? But it reminds me a little bit of Kingdom Come, where it's a little bit of that kind of squaring up, claustrophobic, and you're making that swing, and you got to make it count, because if you miss, or if an enemy comes from the right, you can't even see them. They're just going to knock you out. But, so it feels unnatural almost, right? Something different, something you don't get very often in a lot of these games, especially these higher AAA kind of budget games. And one thing IGN actually said that stood out to me, that I don't know if they tweeted it wrong, because I didn't think that's what they said in the tweet, but they did say in the video, this is more adventure action than action adventure. And I thought, you know what? That's kind of cool, because you think of Indiana Jones, and from what we've seen so far, actually what the preview people got to play, right? Like I said, all these different segments, there is a lot of puzzle solving here. There is side quests. There's a area where Indy is allowed to kind of just go wherever, and eventually you have to kind of get to the main mission, and how you get to that main mission, I think, is different depending on what you do. But you can just go around and take pictures. You can explore. You can take side quests from people. So it's the action almost is secondary, right? You want to be stealthy where you can. You want to be able to pick up just all these objects. And I think IGN's preview showed a variety of different objects you can pick up to kind of hit people from behind. You don't want to get into fist fights with 13 people all simultaneously, right? They're going to overwhelm you. And honestly, I can really respect that. And you think of Indiana Jones, and it's yeah, this isn't some massively mastered martial artist, right? If he gets surrounded, and he is kind of clumsy, he's a little, the form isn't perfect, and that kind of goes back to what we've seen, how you punch and how the enemies kind of react to it. It doesn't feel like you would imagine a Nathan Drake, let's say, right? But it's well, Indy, again, you think about it, can he take on 5 people at once? Often, so you think of Harrison Ford, you think about the movies, he's getting hit, he's bouncing around, people are pushing him, and he'll nail that 1 or 2 hits, and then he'll kind of do something clever to get out of the situation, right? That's Indiana Jones. And when it comes to the puzzle stuff, what we've seen so far, I think a lot of it resulted in placing statues in certain areas. That was a thing that they got to do kind of in the beginning. beginning, you kind of meet the big bad, and you kind of get absolutely schooled by him, and the rest of the game kind of follows it. So what we've seen so far, I would say, gets me excited, and I guess, and this is kind of hard to like put into like a title of the video, so I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it yet. I really think this preview like truly solidifies what this game is going to be to me. That's kind of why this preview made a big impact on me. Yes, it does look good. Looks good. I'm excited to play it. I always was. I guess I'm more excited now, but it's also, okay, even though it's only like 10, 12 minutes, from what they said and what we saw, right, you can kind of start to put together and say, okay, this is just the fighting style. Like, this is how this is going to work. The puzzles come first, or this comes first, or this seems more important, right? You get a little bit of the, I saw some praise for Troy Baker. Honestly, from everything we've seen so far, he very much seems to nail the Harrison Ford thing, so I'm excited to kind of see that throughout a whole game. I'm excited. I'm really, really pumped for this game, and it puts it more into focus, where it's like, okay, hopefully now, not that my expectations were ever like, oh, this is like Uncharted 5, right? This is the next Tomb Raider game. No, this is what it is, and yeah, it fits in the genre, I assume, of the Uncharted's and Tomb Raider. I mean, actually, those games kind of got it from Indiana Jones in the first place, right? So, but I can kind of, I guess, dial in my expectations for this game going forward. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.